Who are you? Who are you on the?
Listen.
Bobtail.
Shave?
Tail.
Sleepy? Time.
Now.
Is
Leave.
possible.
I don't know what you mean, so I can't.
Bobtail.
Please, children. Bye.
Others will see them
Soon.
Alex!
Jonas!
Oxenfree is a supernatural 80s film-esque graphic experience that delves into dark themes from a more subtle angle. If you've ever played a Telltale game, then you'll feel right at home. You play as Alexandra, moreover known as Alex, your classic rebellious girl who is sarcastic and often gets herself in trouble, yet she is intelligent despite her punk-like flaws. You are joining your childhood stoner friend Ren and new stepbrother Jonas to Edwards Island. Of course, you're off to do normal teenage tropes of drinking and getting high. However, after discovering some radio anomalies on the island, shit starts to hit the fan. Though, while you run from ghosts and live through time, you may have missed something incredibly important to the game's plot: its many perspectives on the idea of grief and acceptance. Alex to Jonas, Clarissa, or even Maggie Adler, and even the Sunken, this message is seen and explained through many perspectives. Takes all of these and politely nestles them together to create a great core message that makes this game so memorable. I'd like to speak a little bit about how each of the characters mentioned, all in some way, embody a reaction to a traumatic experience, but before dissecting that, it's best to discuss what the stages of grief are. This is the core message of Oxenfree.
Communications tower, and I don't know about you, but I want to climb that ladder, call somebody, and get the hell back home as fast as possible.
After experiencing a traumatic event, such as a death of a loved one, or being diagnosed with a terminal illness, a person goes through a psychological occurrence documented as the 5 stages of grief. The 5 stages include denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. They are considered non-linear, meaning you can experience any stage in any order and possibly never participate in a stage. Oxenfree heavily focuses on these stages. In fact, we can very clearly see, hear, and read how the characters within the game are affected by them. Some characters can also embody multiple stages at once, which can also happen in real life. Denial, as I'm sure you can guess, involves a person denying the fact that they are sick or someone is gone. It's a sort of defense mechanism that prevents us from being completely overwhelmed by shock, which could possibly damage us even more. People start to isolate, and they lose hope in life. Life becomes meaningless, and therefore their life is becoming meaningless. You question your own mortality. You begin to isolate yourself out of fear of death. You're afraid that you'll never, ever get better. It's a painful feeling, and it happens to almost everyone in their lifetime, but you'll always get through it. Anger, again, is fairly straightforward. Pain starts to become overwhelming, and the denial disappears. Now all that's there is anger and hatred. It's aimed at everyone and everything. It's common to hurt those around you. Blaming is commonplace, but if you are the one receiving it, understand that truthfully, they probably don't mean it. Bargaining is one of the stranger stages. This stage can be seen as if-only statements. It's a way to say that the pain will disappear if this one thing happens. I've personally exploited this stage, and people find it grueling and annoying to sit through. You gradually become a sort of burden to those around you. Asking too much of someone will most likely lead them to leave you. Depression is much like denial, except you accept what's happening, but in a painful way. All of the suffering that you've been hiding from the start appears. It overwhelms you, and it tears you apart until there is nothing left of you. Isolation is common, and it feels like you cannot be helped. However, this is normally the step before acceptance of the entire situation. And finally, acceptance. I should point out that not everyone reaches this stage. It can become a haunting point in their life that quietly eats away at their soul forever. But most do reach this stage. You understand and have gone through everything. It becomes clear to you that things come to an end. You often become quiet, but caring to those around you. You've gone through it all. It's time to come back and rejoin the world. Grief is a very personal experience. Most people will experience it in some form, in some way during their lifetime. I've experienced it quite recently, and if I'm being honest, I haven't accepted the situation. I don't know if I ever will. I'm hoping to get closure, but with the environment we are in right now, it's hard to tell if I ever will. I'm struggling immensely, so I relate very heavily to the characters within Oxenfree. A year prior to the events we experienced in Oxenfree, we learned that Alex had an older brother, Michael. He was a senior in high school, getting ready to move on to college, and during this time, he was dating Alex's quote-unquote nemesis, Clarissa. Alex was best friends with Mike, and sort of hated how much time Mike spent with Clarissa. It felt like she was taking away so much time from Alex, who wanted to use it with Michael before he went off to college. We learned early on that Michael died before he ever left for school. This is first mentioned when Jonas notes how the attic was already set up before he got there. Alex sadly mentions that it used to be Mike's room. She says it in a way that shows Alex still seems to be grieving over his death. Jonas apologizes and they move forward. As our main characters head down to the beach, Clarissa is introduced as, quite simply, a bitch. For some reason, she has a stick up her ass and has a clear disinterest in Alex. On the beach itself, the teens decide to play Truth or Slap, a spin on Truth or Dare. After bullying Ren, you're asked whether you'd screw, marry, or kill Clarissa, Nona, and Ren. And, most players would obviously choose to kill Clarissa, which doesn't really surprise her. A little later, Clarissa picks you to, well, pick on. Clarissa notes how awkward it must be for Jonas becoming Alex's new brother, since her last one died. She goes on to say that statistics show if you get divorced once, you're probably gonna get divorced again. She gradually moves to push into an inappropriate territory of questioning why Alex's mom and dad got divorced. This can lead to Alex proclaiming the following.
You know why. Michael died, and it broke everything, and they couldn't handle it. The end.
Well, now you know, Jonas. Don't die and everything will be fine.
Clearly, as we can tell, Clarissa holds a lot against Alex, and as Alex can ask,
Man, what is your problem, Clarissa? Just what did I do to make you act like I ate the last piece of chocolate cake on your flippin' birthday?
Nothing, Alex. You did absolutely nothing.
this line of nothing is explored in a later encounter with the possessed version of Clarissa. We finally learn what happened to Michael.
It has to be her fault. Of course it's her fault. There's no other way this story goes. She
Don't
creates...
listen to her, okay? She's pissed at the world and she likes to take it out on me, and none of what's happening makes any sense anyway.
I'm not. It's not
No, come on, Clarissa. Let's not do this right
You're
now.
gonna learn, Jonas. I swear to God. The town looks at her like she has a red letter tattooed on her freaking forehead.
Clarissa?
And the giant, lit up Christmas tree reason why is that Michael is dead because of her. Because of her. Like,
It would take a very sick person to see it that way, and I would love to hear the explanation.
Michael was gonna leave town. He was free. He was out of here until this one convinced him to take her swimming for one last God knows what. And he drowned. He drowned in Horn Lake while this one could barely flap her arms.
Clarissa.
You are completely insane! It's like all those after-school specials that warn you about inhuman monsters. We're all secretly talking about you!
Yes, the person who didn't kill her own brother is the monster in this picture, of course.
Okay, enough. Seriously.
We see this as a large wound for Alex, and that she clearly feels horrible about what happened, while Clarissa completely blames Alex for everything, even when it hurts her. Alex and Clarissa show two different sides of grief, depression, and anger. Alex most likely holds herself accountable for Michael's death, which she clearly hides in order to seem like she's moved on. In her wiki, it states that after Mike's death, she dyed her hair and became even more rebellious, even skipping out on the ACT to hang out with Ren. This response to death is quite common in teens, as it seems like their mood shifts so suddenly. She is also likely suffering from survivor's guilt, which is a case where someone you loved died, but you survived. Death is a difficult thing for teenagers, as they are already going through a difficult time in their life. On top of that, her parents got divorced because of Mike's death, which also put more pressure on her. If this were real life, it would be important for Alex to talk about this incident with someone who, of course, doesn't blame and berate her. It's also important to let her grieve on her own. Even though Alex's actions are quite risky and possibly even damaging, she needs to work it out on her own. As for Clarissa, it's a little bit different. As I said before, Clarissa is clearly suffering from the stage of anger. She blames everything on Alex and seems hateful to the world around her. For a lot of people, this is very common. It is often seen as better to be angry than it is to be sad. You cut yourself off from people in order for you not to get hurt even more. Anger can lead to very damaging consequences, like losing longtime friends. Because they both had a deep connection to Michael, they have a fairly deep connection to each other. However, instead of coming together to share their pain, they use it against each other. They are both in horrible states of grief, and further than that, you can actually make Alex take it to the extreme. As I've mentioned before that Clarissa is possessed, the Sunken terrorize Alex, pushing her hatred over the edge if the player allows it. At the end of the game, you are given a choice. Give up Alex's life and she lives in constant darkness alongside the Sunken, or give up Clarissa's life, eliminating her from existence. If I'm honest, this is a really fucked up option, and if you pick it, that's kind of unfortunate considering how much we learn about Clarissa from flashbacks. Further on in the video, I like to focus more on Alex because her side of grief becomes a little bit more complex as she progresses towards the end of the game. But for now, let's focus on the Sunken. The main antagonist of the game is known as the Sunken. The Sunken consist of the 97 people aboard a submarine called the USS Kanaloa, which was stationed outside in Edward Island's Bay. After an incident with a friendly firebombing, the submarine, which housed an experimental nuclear reactor, imploded, and instead of killing the passengers, sent them into a separate dimension. This unfortunate accident was due to Maggie Adler, a resident and codebreaker stationed on Edward Island, misperceiving a transmission from the submarine. She requested a bombing of the area out of fear it was a foreign threat, and ended up killing those in the Kanaloa. Later on, after receiving weird transmissions on the island, Adler and her friend Anna did their best to decode the seemingly random transmissions. Turns out the people on the sub survived, but they were displaced from normal reality. Adler and Anna tried opening a temporal tear to bring the passengers back to their reality, but failed. The Sunken ended up overwhelming Anna and dragged her into the tear with them, and after that, they went silent, until Alex opened the tear. The Sunken represent multiple stages of grief, anger, and bargaining. I believe the reason they embody multiple stages is due to the Sunken having their mental capacity limited to being children, which is mentioned in one of the Adler notes. With smaller emotional capabilities, anger is sure to run wild. Early on, we see that the Sunken bear a lot of resentment towards Adler, which can be noted here.
Can we, help you? Or...
Leave.
Possible.
Maybe? But I don't really...
Grounded.
Bye.
Adler.
Margaret. Pretty.
Little.
Poppy.
Maggie Adler. That old woman? What does she have to do with anything?
Old woman was young once. We were
Young. Once.
Their anger is then slowly transferred over to Alex and her friends because they are struggling to capture them. They use their powers to torment Alex and her friends. Their anger mainly stems from the fact that they had their lives stolen from them. All they want is time. Just time. Their anger grows stronger and stronger as the game goes on, and by the end, they are consistently tormenting Alex. They're upset that they can't live, and they have no problem harming some kids who decided to wake them. They'd even go as far as to kill them. At the end of the game, the Sunken realize that they cannot live their lives outside of their dimension. They realize that they cannot bargain for all the kids' lives either. Only one. Alex, or Clarissa. Their anger comes to a head, and we finally understand why they are the way they are. The Sunken have lost their lives. This, obviously, is traumatic for those still living, but now, they are experiencing it for themselves. They know they are dead, and they know that they can't live again. They lost their lives while still living it. At the end of the game, they also note how they are upset that people forgot about them. It's hard to know you've been forgotten about, that people you knew, people you loved, have moved on from you. I personally know how that feels. You think to yourself, well, shouldn't they still think about me? Did I even mean anything to them? The Sunken ignore signs of people remembering them, the monument built in their honor, the hard work of Adler and Anna trying to bring them back, and it doesn't come through to them. They note that they can't even remember their own names or their faces. All they remember is their pure anger for those around them. There are multiple endings with the Sunken. You can leave Clarissa to die, you can shut yourself in with the Sunken, or you can convince them to let both you and Clarissa go. But no matter how the game ends, the Sunken and their anger will still be there. And so will Alex. No matter what choice you make at the end of the game, a version of Alex will be stuck with the Sunken. I don't think many people realize this, because the ending is stuck straight with pointing out the fact that Alex and her friends are all stuck in one big time loop. They make this so painfully obvious that people will forget that there are alternate realities due to warping time. No matter what happens, somewhere on the timeline, there was an Alex that got stuck with the Sunken. This is the Alex that we see at the beginning of the game, who we see hiding behind the Sunken near the end, and play as this Alex before the final ending. This version of Alex has accepted the situation she was put in, and much like the Sunken have to accept, she will not be returning with her friends. However, this is not the only thing Alex accepts. As I noted earlier in the video, Alex has flashbacks to the time just before Michael dies. In these flashbacks, we get some character development for Alex and Michael and their relationship, as well as see Clarissa for who she actually is, a relatively nice person. But along with this, you can actually change the future within these flashbacks. Depending on your choices, you can save Michael or let him die. This can change the ending, but truly, it doesn't matter. The original Alex's Michael, as confusing as that sounds and is to say, died. And I think in a way, she is trying to make the future Alexes see that. You can change his fate, but in the end, he's already dead, and nothing can change that. The reason I say this is because of the secret ending of the game. If you play through the game a second time, make certain choices within this playthrough, there is a bit where you can see the trio out in front of a market when you start your third playthrough. They tune into a radio station and hear a past Alex say this.
Well, alright. I guess that means...
Alex, this is... Alex, and listen, don't come to Edwards Island. Whatever you do, just don't come here. Stay home. Stay safe.
Throughout the game, I wholeheartedly believe that the developers were trying to make you more concerned with saving Michael's life rather than Alex and her friends. Which is understandable. I mean, like, who wouldn't want to save someone you lost? With this ending, the game is forcing you, the player, that some things cannot be changed. Past Alex will be trapped forever, Alex and Jonas will be step-siblings, Clarissa will be a hateful bitch, Ren is Ren, and lastly, Michael is dead. Is it the best ending? I don't know. I'll let you decide. You can let me know in the comments. All I think that is important is that Alex accepts that what happened to Michael was an accident, and to not blame herself for his death. We cannot change the past. What has happened, but more importantly, she at least knows that Michael loved her.
Alex, just get good friends, okay? And when you're with those friends, just say yes to everything. And keep away from boys when you talk to them, it feels like you're performing. But also, stay away from girls who look you in the eye for too long. And match every beer with a water. And take classes outside of school. Classes you don't need.
Okay. I'll make a checklist.
This is a just-in-case package, okay? Just in case I'm not around. And I love you, and you're amazing, and that's it. So...
I love you too.
So, there you have it. A video that has been 3 years in the making. I'd like to say thank you to the people that have supported me throughout the years. You've literally seen me grow up before your eyes. I can't believe I'm saying this, but you guys will see me graduate high school and turn 18 pretty soon. Thank you to Racevic, Leonardo DeCicci, D-Master, Sergeant Strawberry, Core Ideas, L. Hudson, and White Light for pushing me to make a video after all these years. I swear in my life, I will make more. I promise. Sorry for any, blemishes within the video. My writing is a little rusty. I have not recorded voiceover in literally years, and I'm getting used to Adobe Premiere. Believe it or not, I used to make videos with Windows Movie Maker, so this is a huge step up for me. If you have anything to say, whether it's about the topic in the video production itself, or if you just want to tell me how your quarantine has been, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you around. And as always, have a nice evening, everyone.